Welcome to the second part of our learning series of step function. In this part, we will create one step function from scratch with management console. So from UI, we will drag and drop the functionality and create the whole step function and test it as well. If you have not seen the introduction of the series, kindly to watch the first part of the video and you will understand about step functions and their functionality, how it works, how various organizations use that. So without wasting more time, so let's go ahead and create one step function. So again, if you are new to this channel, kindly like, share, subscribe and comment your thoughts. Let me know what you liked and what you didn't like. I will try to make some recommended videos from you guys if you have any. So sit tight and enjoy. So welcome to the first demo session of our step function where we will create a couple of services in our management console and we will then glue together in the step functions and then we will form an overall step and then we will execute the step function. So if you see the picture in my screen, it depicts a step function which have 4 branches or 4 steps that will execute parallelly. So this is what the step is. It is called parallel. That means I want this following steps parallelly, and branches means the one branch means one particular step. So this particular step and this one again, this one and this one will execute parallelly. So what will happen is that in the first branch or the first step, it will invoke a lambda function, then it will wait for some time, then it will invoke a SQS send message. On the second step, the SNS publish will happen and then it will invoke another lambda function. On the third step, the lambda function only will be invoked. And on the fourth one, we will just create one S3 bucket. Remember, as I said, we will execute all the steps parallelly. That means we will invoke the step function once and it will also do all the steps parallelly and then it will end the process. So this is very much important. So in many cases, step functions parallel execution is used where you suppose you want to run a couple of jobs parallelly. Then you can use the step function and schedule your job accordingly. Or step function is also used like if you have one job which where the output is needed as an input to the second step, then also step function parallel execution or the step function execution is needed. You can use step function. So this efficient processing, this help efficient processing, performance improvement, resource optimization, cost optimization, flexibility. These are all things that you can do. Like overall, the ability to execute tasks in parallel is a significant feature of a step function, and it's as it is enable more efficient and scalable workflows, particularly in handling complex and resource intensive processes. So if you have more resource and more steps are needed, you can just or you can just segregate the steps into smaller ones and you can create one step functions and you can just communicate back and forth with your steps, and the steps will be executed properly. So what you see here in the picture, at last of our hands-on session, we will have the same picture or the same step function which is executing parallelly couple of jobs. So first of all, you see here we have to create couple of services, and as I said, we will create the services, then we will glue it together to form the step function. So what services we need? So first of all, we need a couple of lambda function. As you can see, 1, 2, 3 lambda function is needed, and then we need one SQS queue, and we need one SNS topic. And the create bucket is something the step function will call its own API and it will create the bucket. So for this, we don't need any service to create. So let's go to our management console and create couple of services. Then how we will glue it together, let's see. So we go into the management console and we see we go to the step function. If you write down here step functions, this one, and then if we are inside of it, then there is a button called get started. If you already have a step function, then you will get the state machine and there is a create button will be there. But as we don't have any step functions here, so we selected get started. And whenever you will select get started, there are a couple of template you can choose or you can create your own template. So I will just close this one and I will show you the UI here first of all. So on the left hand side you will be able to see that couple of drag and drop option, like we can drag this one here in our workflow and this will be glued together. So I will not do it right now, so I will just cross it. And then in the action section, so these actions are most popular actions are here, like in the step functions we are invoking lambda, we are publishing SNS topic, the step function start exec, another step function you can call, you can run ECS task with the step function, or you can call a glue job with the step function. So all you have to do, you have to drag this here and drop it here and then do some configuration. So remember, left side is our the job function or the actions that we need to do. Middle point is the one where we will create our workflow, and the right hand side is where we will configure our workflow here. On the above you will see this design. This is a design pattern. So this is the UI. If you remember in my first video I said that step function can be created in two ways. One is drag and drop from the UI, or you can code it. So this is part the drag and drop comes into picture, and if you click on code you will be able to see a JSON document here like this, and whenever we will drag and drop it will auto populate the code here. You can also code it by your own, but better to do it drag and drop and then generate the code. And on the config section you will be able to see that a couple of details of our step function, where the logging is enabled or not. Right now log level is off because I don't want to enable logging, because the individual lambda will have logging. Then I don't need the logging for a step function. So again I'm coming back to the design section here and we will mainly create our workflow in the middle section, and whenever we will drag and drop the action we have to configure the particular action here in the right hand section. I hope this is understandable. So this is fine. Now if you see our picture, what we will do, so at the start of the step function here you see this is the, so let me just increase a bit here. Yeah, so this is the start of a step function and this is the end of a step function. Now if I save it or create it, it will not do anything. It will just start it and it will end it. In middle there is nothing. Now what we have to do, we have to create a parallel branch, or we have to create a parallel execution for the step function. So how to create a parallel execution? Now if you see here in the flow, after action you will see flow. In the flow you will have couple of kind of flow diagram charts here. So choice, that means it is a if else logic. If something happens, go there. If another thing happens, go on the right hand side. So like this you will have choice. So what we are interested in is in the parallel section. So this parallel means the execution will happen parallelly. So we have to drag it and we have to drop it here. So you see here, whenever we drag and drop it, it created two steps or two branches with nothing in it. That's fine. So this is a parallel state of a step function, which this step and the left hand side and the right hand side will execute parallelly. But the question is what it will execute. So that part or that action, we have to select it from our actions tab. So flow is something like how we will do the action, and actions is something like what we will do in a particular action. So it will be easier to remember how. Flow means how and actions is what. Fine. Now if you see here, so we need 4 branches. So let's go one by one. So the first step is we have to invoke a lambda function. So that means we need to create couple of lambda function and SNS and SQS message. So we go here in the lambda section here, okay, and in the lambda console we will create 3 lambda function. So the first one is function 1, and I will do it in Python, and then create function. Then again I will create another function which is called function 2, and this is also Python, create function, and I will do a third function here which is called function 3, and this is also Python, and create function. Now my 3 functions are ready. What I will do, I will just give a print statement in each and every one. So I will just print the event so that you will understand like what event it took and how the input output works. So the event is like this, and then event. So that's it. So I will print it and I will paste it in each and every function. Maybe to identify function 1, function 1. So this is for function 1 that we will identify. So I will deploy this one and then I will copy it. Then on the function 2, on the similar level, I will just paste it and I will keep it as function 2 and deploy. And on the same on function 3, this is for function 3, and I will save it and deploy. So from function 2, this is function 2, the event is this, function 3, the event is this, and function 1, the event is this. Now my 3 lambda function is there. What else we need? 1, 2, 3 lambda function is there. We need one SQS queue and we need one SNS topic. So we go here again, SQS, and then we create a queue. It is a standard queue, so I will name it just test queue. And on the visibility timeout, I will just change it to 30 minutes. You can keep it as it is, but just for demo purpose I changed it to 30 minutes, and that's it. I will create the queue and I need one SNS topic, so I go to SNS and I will create one topic. So you can create a topic from here. This is very much this is very nice feature of AWS that we can create a topic just by giving the topic name, and that's it. We will just create the topic and my topic is here. So as per our picture, our 3 lambda function is here, our SQS message and SNS topic both has been created. Now we will form the step function. Now coming back to our step function console, you see in the parallel step nothing is there. So what we will do in the action section, in our first step we will invoke the lambda function. So I will drag the lambda invoke function here. You can just search it here as well for other function. So if you just type in lambda, the lambda invoke function will come. Now I see here most popular section lambda is here, so I will just drag it, the lambda invoke function here. And if you just click on this, and then on the right hand side you will be able to see how to configure this action. So to configure it, I mean, the API is lambda invoke. This is fine, but what lambda or which lambda it will invoke? So we have to give the API parameter like which lambda function it will invoke. So I will select my function 1 as a lambda function, and I will select that what is the payload. Payload means what will be the input of the lambda function. So I will select as the use state input as payload. This is fine. And also I just want to pass the output as an whatever the input I got, I want to pass the same input as an output of the lambda function. How will I do that? So you see here the payload, it says that use the state input as payload. That means whatever the step function will give it as input payload, it will have the same input. Now if you scroll up, you will be able to see a couple of input and output section. So we are not interested in the input section because the input, it will take the same input from the step function. But on the output section, if you see, we'll just select the same one. Couple of things here we can select. We can transform the result with result selected. This is very interesting. If you have more complex workflow where you want to select a particular result for your job, then you can do it. Or you can add the original input to the output using the result path. That means whatever the step function will give it as input, it will have the same output from the lambda function. So I will select it. I will select the same here, that the original output is here. And remember, after you select this one, you can change the output as well. So it says that combine original input with the result or discard the result and keep the original input. So to keep it simple, I will just discard the result and keep the original input. That means whatever input we will give the step function, it will have the same output from the lambda. So I will just select that the discard result and keep the original input. And I will unselect this one, filter output with output path. This is fine. So what I have done, I have invoked a lambda function. I have configured which lambda function to invoke, and then I have selected the output as the same as input function. This is fine. Now this part is clear. Right? Now if you see on the second step, on the first step, we have another part where after invoking the lambda, we want to wait for some time. So for that, as I said, how we will do that, that means it will come here in the flow section. So we have to drag and drop the wait state. So the wait state says that you have to, or we have to wait for a couple of time. And on selecting this wait state, if you come on the right hand side, we will be able to see like for how much seconds. By default it take 5 seconds, so I will not change it. So for 5 seconds I want this input, or I want this step to be in the wait state. This is fine. Now after waiting, I want to send an SQS message. So I will again go back to actions, and then I will type in SQS. And as soon as I type in SQS, you see here SQS send message pops up. So I will drag it and I will drop it. So and if I then click on it, go to the right, and then we have to select like for which SQS message we want to send message. So the SQS message that I have created, I will select this one, and then I will just select as the state input as a message. That means whatever input will be passed, it is the same as message. And I will not change anything in the input and output. This is fine. Now you see our first step is done. So what is our first step? So I will just zoom out a bit so that you can see it properly. So this is our first step. So as soon as I invoke this step function, it will invoke a lambda function. It will wait for 5 seconds, and then it will invoke, or it will send a SQS message. So my first step is done. Then the second step. The second step is we have to publish an SNS topic. So again, on the left hand side, we go and we type in SNS, and then you see here Amazon SNS publish. So I will drag it and I will drop it here. So as soon as I drop it, you know what to do. We have to select it, and on the right hand side we have to configure it. So on the SNS topic, we have to select the API parameter, like in which the step function API will call for which topic, the topic that we have created, this one, test topic. And I will also select that the state input as message. Now here it is the same like the lambda invoke function. I don't want to transform the input in this SNS in this state. I just want to pass the same message that we will be giving in the step function in our lambda function too. Or then what we have to do, we have to go to the input. We will change nothing, but the output of the step, we will add add original input to the output using result part. That means whatever input the step function will give it to the step, it will propagate the same output to the next step. And you know what to do, discard result and keep original input. So it will discard whatever it is, and it will actually keep the original input as output from the step. And then the question is where it will output. So the output is the lambda invoke. Don't confuse this lambda invoke. So let me just grab the lambda invoke. So it will invoke then the lambda. So what I'm saying is, don't confuse this lambda invoke with the subscription of SNS. SNS subscription is something different, and this lambda invoking is something different. This lambda invoke is done from our step function itself as a second step after the SNS publish. And if you have subscription of the SNS topic as a lambda function, that is totally different. That that will have a different event coming in, and that we are not configuring. We are configuring this lambda to be invoked from the step function, not from SNS. Please remember. So we have then dragged this second lambda invoke function. Then we have to configure it. We go right side, and on the API call we choose our second lambda function 2, and then we use state input as payload. So this is the last step, so we don't need to change anything as input output here. These are all fine. Now our, if you see our picture is somehow completed. We have two more steps, where in this third step we will only invoke one lambda function. So you know what to do. We go here, invoke lambda, we drag it here and drop it. So you see our step functions is getting more complex and getting more bigger. So this is our lambda invoke, and you know what to do. And this is our third lambda function. So if we select it, and then in API parameter we have to give the name. This is our lambda function 3, and we will not change anything as input output because there is no steps after it. So we will use the state input as payload. This is fine. And now the next step is create bucket. So there is this API. If you search with S3, you will be able to see that the create bucket option is here, Amazon S3 create bucket. So we will drag it and we will drop it here. So this will create an S3 bucket, but you have to, or we have to pass couple of parameters here. You see here the bucket name we have to pass. So for the bucket name, I will just select my channel name, then a random number, then random couple of warnings. That's it. So it will create with this name one bucket. So my step function is ready. So if you see, I will zoom out, and if you see here, this is more or less my step function. It is similar to this picture. Now whenever you can just click on the, we can just click on the create here. But before creating this, I want to highlight here that couple of the concept is whatever service you want to invoke in AWS, you need permissions to invoke that. That means, suppose you want to invoke lambda functions from the step function, so the step function need role or permission to invoke the lambda function. So couple of permission step function or AWS can create by themselves, but couple of permissions it cannot. So we will see what it cannot do. But the lambda invoke it can do, but for SNS, SQS and create bucket it cannot do. Let's see what it happens. So our step function is more or ready, our configuration is ready. What we can do here in the parallel section itself, we can just click on it and we can give couple of inputs here like this. But we will not do that while running the step function. We can also give the parameters there. So we will do that. Now we will just select this create button here. As soon as we create it, you see a couple of things popped up. The first thing is that the SNS publish, this policy will be generated. This is fine. SQS send message, this will also be generated. Lambda invoke, this will also be generated. But see here, S3 create bucket, it cannot generate this policy. So our step function is creating one bucket, right? But the step function cannot give its policy this create bucket permission. So we have to give it manually. So this is fine, but for us this is fine. We will confirm this and we will save it anyway. And now our step function is ready. You see here there is something popped up here, and it says that to execute a state machine successfully, you must add the required permission to the role. And what is the permission? It is the create bucket permission. Then we have to add the role here. Which role to add? Here it will see that the IAM role for ARN. This one you can go it from here, or you can go it from here as well. So it will open up our step function role, and if you see the role here, it has all the permissions, the lambda invoke permissions, function 1, function 2, function 3. It has the SNS publish permission to our particular topic. It has SQS send message to our particular queue, but it does not have the S3 permission. So what we will do, we will give it permission. So we will create the inline policy and we will choose a service called S3, and on that we will select create bucket, that's fine. And we just for simplicity purpose, we will select all, and then we will click on next and maybe give it a name as S3, and we will create the policy. As soon as we create the policy, it is already attached to the role. Now my step function has the permission of creating an S3 bucket. Fine, I think we are good. So we go back to our state machine and we just refresh this page and then we start executing. So what will happen while we execute? So when we execute our step function, it will first of all invoke our function 1, then it will wait for 5 seconds, then it will invoke our SQS send message. On the second one, it will publish an SNS topic and it will invoke our lambda function 2. On the third step, it will invoke our lambda function 3, and on the fourth step, it will create a bucket. Let's see if it creates. So we will go ahead and give start execution. And on the here, this is what I was talking about. So if you want to pass any kind of variable or any kind of messages to your step function, you can do it here. So I will not change it something. So something it says that comment, then insert your JSON here. So this is a sample message. So maybe we can change it. So maybe the comment. First step function. So this message I am passing from my step function to all my steps. So let's see. We will start execution. As soon as I click on start execution, you will be able to see that couple of steps are already done. You see how fast it is. So my lambda invoke function 1 is done, SNS publish is done, function 2 is done, SQS message is done, and create bucket is also done. So let's go and check one by one. So let's go and check the lambda invoke function 1. Here, if you click on this one, on the right hand side, it will show you the log group. Now, if you go to the log group, it will open the CloudWatch log group for our lambda function, and we can see if our lambda function invoked or not. So it will open it here, and we see the invocation happened, and this is the message that we have given that function 1, and the event is this is the same event that we have given in our input of our step function. This is the same message. So that means our function 1 is invoked. Now let's see what are the second step. Second step is waiting for 5 seconds. This happened, and then sending an SQS message. You see here SQS message. So we go back to our SQS queue, and then we see that send and receive messages. And if I poll for messages, I see that one message came in, and if I select on it, you see that comment first step function. So this is the same message that we have passed from our step function. And we remember in this step, in this lambda function, we did not transform anything our input as or our input. So the input that is passed as it is as output to our SQS. So this is what the output passed in from our lambda function. That's why our SQS got the same message. Great. Now let's go to the second one where it says the SNS publish, and you see here in the input section it is here, and the output is also kind of the same thing. And if we go to our SNS, and we will not be able to see the SNS message here because there is no subscription or something, but we can see that this has happened. This has happened properly, and we can see that the step executed properly, but I don't think we will be able to check this one. Anyway, the second part of the SNS after SNS is done is the lambda invoke our function 2. So if I go to the log group here, our function 2, it should show that our function 2 is executed properly, and it should show the log. So here you see that the function 2 function 2 is executed, and the event is the same one, the event that we passed from our step function. This is nice. Now our third step is our function 3 invoking. So if I go again to our log group, and we will be able to see that this is the function 3 log group, and function 3 also called, and the event is the one that we passed from our step function. Nice. And the last is create bucket. So I hope our bucket is created. So we go to S3 and we see our bucket is created. So this is our bucket. So we give some random number and okay. So this is how we have created one step function, and all the steps has been executed properly. We passed one input. We did not transform it. We can transform it. The input transformation in the output section, output is very complex. We can also do that. Let me know if you want to know about it. I can make another video out of it, how to transform your input and output in a step functions. That is very much important in an enterprise organization where you might not need all the input from the step function. You might need only very tiny little things as a input in the next step of your functions. So you can transform it. This is very important. So this is what we do it. As last we have our step function running, and we have we had our step function running, and this is executed properly. All the steps has been done, and it has passed from one step to another, its input and output. So this is what I wanted to show you, and step functions is really important. This is this was one complex execution where we executed couple of steps parallelly. You can execute step by step as well in a step function. No problem in that. But I hope this will be you really enjoyed this video. So at last, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you are new to this channel, kindly like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And those who are already know my channel, please let me know in the comment section how you like it, and in for what other video I should make to make you more familiar with cloud. In the third part of this series, or the second part of the demo session, we will be doing the same steps with our infrastructure as code, and that will also be a very interesting thing. And we will deploy everything there by code. So I will be back with the demo session 2, or our third third session, yeah, very soon. And till then, I hope you take care, and goodbye.